Da 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 da. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's Apple TV Plus original movie review of Tetris, the newest film from director John S. Baird. So Tetris is this quote-unquote based on true story about a character named Henk Rodgers who's played by Taron Egerton in this movie. The story goes as this. Tetris was a game that became very, very popular in the Nintendo Game Boy. Henk Rodgers was able to secure the rights, but because of what happened with Robert Stein, who's played by Toby Jones, and the Maxwell family, it becomes this whole big kind of shindig problematic thing where the Russian government, who originally signed a contract with Robert Stein for the computer version, found out that he was basically using the rights illegally. So therefore, Henk Rodgers and the Maxwell and, of course, Robert Stein family are in this big legal battle, or this big battle to try to secure their rights. Well, because this is a movie, everything's hyper-realized, and therefore the Russian government is played like a very dangerous society, a very dangerous group who are going to do everything in their power to secure the rights or get the rights back, get the money they need for this particular thing, as well as, doing under the table dealings and stuff like that. So basically, what this story is just how Henk Rodgers and Alexei Petchnov, who created Tetris, ended up securing the rights for the game itself and create their own company. So with that said, Tetris is probably one of my favorite games of all time, to be fairly honest. It's a game that I just find so endearing. It's so addicting. There's everything about it is just simplified. It's just 4 blocks in different shapes, and you have to put the pieces down in specific orders and stuff like that. And you create Tetris lines, and it's very simple. The more you play, the faster it goes, stuff like that. But the story of Tetris itself is something I'm not real familiar with. I mean, not in the sense of like the kind of nuts and bolts. So I was really intrigued that they were going to make a movie about this, about the ideas behind what this thing was and how it became what it was and how it became popular as it is. And the idea of like how Henk Rodgers and Alexei Petchnov basically just created this empire in a lot of respects. But I've been hearing a lot of negative things about this movie, just the simple fact that it's hyper realized, it's bombastic, it is more of a fictional thriller than it is a quote unquote based on true story type of scenario. So I went in with a little trepidation, and like I said, once again, I've heard some really bad things about this movie, just kind of mediocre in its own right. So with that said, for my honest review of this movie, I kind of lean in that camp. I think it's a movie that is entertaining. It's really entertaining in the simple fact that I think everybody is having fun. They're doing what they are told to do or what they are put on screen to do. I think the the idea of what exactly happened in this movie is not 100%. I mean, a lot of times the based on true stories are not going to be 100% truthful. But I think this movie takes so many liberties in making it a more like over the top kind of bombastic thriller that it loses its kind of narrative in a lot of respects. I think the idea of how Taron Egerton and how Henk Rodgers and Alexei Petchnov became friends, how they created that company, is really interesting, really, thought-provoking in a lot of respects. I think the idea of using the Russian government in the movie is very important to how the story plays out. But I think as crazy and insane the Russian government was, of course, during the Cold War and stuff like that, I think that this movie makes them more out to be like one of those mustache-twirling villains, because there are villains in this movie that are people that are taking bribes to secure rights and stuff like that. I think the Russian government is trying to protect its asset in its country, but I think this movie it goes too far in that aspect. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Russian government is that terrible, but I just think that they're more worried about how they are used as a country in an idea than they are about some rights to a video game. I think in the end, it was a difficult process to get the rights for the game, but I think it's played to the point where it's so insane that there's a car chase in this movie, and it feels like that they're just going for the ultimate enemy in a movie, and I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I agree with that. You gotta have more complexity in your villains than is what's shown in this movie, and I think it's more, if you focus more on Henk Rodgers and Alexei Petchnov, which they're predominantly in this movie, but I think they're sidelined by the fact that the Russian government is just ultimate evil, blah 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 blah, and I think you're kind of leaning into today's society with showing how they play out. So that's my ultimate problem with this movie, is I think it tends to be more fictionalized than it tends to be truthful in its storytelling, and that just makes for boringness, I guess you could say. That's just how I feel. But everybody in this movie is good. I mean, there's nobody who's playing a bad character. You know, Taron Egerton's really good. Nikita Yefremov, who plays Alexei Petunov, is good. Toby Jones is good. We have, you know, Rick Yoon's in this movie for a little bit, which is, at first this movie is playing out similar like the movie 21, where it's going to be like a backstory, but I don't know. It's a really weird movie. It's a very much an Apple TV Plus original movie, but it's weird in the sense of like, what exactly are they going for? Are they going for the thriller action sense? Are they going for the truthful sense? You know, it's not saying that the Tetris rights weren't hard to get. It's just, there's something about this movie. It just feels weird and off and kind of strange. And I don't know. Maybe it's just weird. It's hard to really truthfully explain, but I think it's a movie that's not bad. I think it just it deserved more in that aspect. And I think that comes down to like the direction and the writing and just the overall narrative story. It has some really cool like animated pieces in it that feel like very 80s video game style, but I think when it comes down to the end, I just don't think it's a very good truthful movie that's more worried about being so entertaining than it is about being really educational about one of the most influential games of all time. So I don't know. I think that's where I stand when it comes to this movie, Tetris. So with that said, that'll kind of be where I end my review for this movie. Like I said, and always in the comments below, what do you think of this movie if you've watched it? What do you think overall of Tetris? Do you like Tetris? I love Tetris. You know, tell me what you think. Otherwise, if you like what you see on the channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell, top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.